Welcome to episode 194 of Missing Pieces. This is my weekly audio journal podcast where I talk about what I'm up to and what I'm into. I should warn you in this episode, it might be a bit shorter because today I'm recording this on my usual day, which is Friday, but today is a special day, although in the scope of this week, it really isn't. Today is a remote day. And what that means is that the schools are closed, although not technically closed. Right now, it's snowing outside. As a result, they don't want to have people traveling back and forth to school. But instead of actually closing the school and not having anything to do, they have a remote day, which means that everyone gets on their device. They all have Chromebooks and they're able to get on and do school. Clark Man is in an interesting position today because he's already done. It's 10 o'clock in the morning right now. His teacher apparently wasn't going to be in today regardless. And all he had to do today was morning announcements. He had a small music class and then complete a packet of paperwork. And he's already done with that. So as a result, he is anxiously awaiting for me to be done with this podcast so he can come down here and play video games and hang out and have fun, which is exactly what I want to do as well. But I made a commitment to you that I would make these podcast episodes every week. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So we're just going to start this off by jumping all the way back to last Friday after this podcast recorded for the last time. We ended up having a guys' night that night, which was a lot of fun. Clark Man came home from school all excited, and this is actually in a vlog, so you can see it in real time. Well, not real time, but you can experience it in the same way that I did because I recorded it. Unknowing to me, but Clark Man comes rushing home and he's all excited because he had a huge success in school that day. He ended up defeating the level of math that he was on, which was level W. And then I think that accelerated him into division, which is something he's been like really excited about getting into because it's like the next step. And there was a situation there where the teacher was like encouraging Clark Man to try like the next level or to defeat this. And the whole class was cheering for him and he was all proud of it. And I was just like hyped. That night, Cody was going out for dinner with her friend Liz. So it was going to be a guy's night regardless. And I was going to let Clark Man choose where we go out to eat. And that was going to be like just a guy's night, but ended up turning into like a celebration of that moment for him too. So it was like a 2-for-1 from a parenting perspective. And Clark Man ultimately ended up choosing Burger King. I was hoping for some pizza, some Long Island pizza, because I'm just a pizza dude. But being that it was his night to choose, we ended up going to Burger King. And Burger King, we're typically McDonald's guys. And I have to admit, McDonald's kind of sucks. Their chicken nuggets, good. Their fries are good as long as you get them like right when they're fresh. I made a joke on one of my streams one time that you basically have to have your head right beside the deep fryer, like eating them as they're coming out of the fryer to have good McDonald's fries. But Burger King, complete opposite. I mean, McDonald's burgers, weak in my opinion. Burger King, though, very good hamburgers there. We just got like these Whopper Juniors. I was on the app looking for all these deals and we found one that kind of worked for both of us. And I think it was like 2 Whopper Juniors and 2 fries for $9. Not bad. That happened to be the highlight of the meal for me. Was the burger. I thought it was really, really well done. It wasn't even like their premier burger. So we may have to go back and do some more experimenting, but I enjoyed that. I did not enjoy their chicken. And I saw from the comments, because this was a vlog too, surprise. Lots of people are saying Burger King's chicken, not great. And I have to agree, it was not very, it wasn't anything to write home about, and I would not get it again. But I do like Burger King fries. I would like to do a taste test like simultaneously with McDonald's fries and Burger King fries to see who does it better. But I would just pretty much, if I could like create the ultimate meal, I'd probably go to Burger King for a burger. Then I'd get a little side of chicken nuggets at McDonald's as the calories start stacking up. And then fries are, it's a tough one, but I guess from nostalgia and my childhood, like McDonald's was our place. So I probably would end up ultimately going with McDonald's fries and maybe being somewhat disappointed with that. And then like for a drink, I'd either do Coke or a McDonald's milkshake with none of the extras that they put on it. I want the old school milkshake without like the whipped cream and cherry and all that, just the standard issue chocolate shake. And, for dessert, I guess that would be dessert, but old school, I would do apple pies. But the last time that I had apple pies at McDonald's, they were like just like flat, terrible, and disgusting. So I don't know. I think like both places have some things going for them. And if you combine them together, they'd be great. I might have to do a taste test at Wendy's again to see if they can beat Burger King's burgers or if they can beat McDonald's and or Burger King's fries, and also test their chicken. So, there's a lot of very in-depth, difficult market research that I have to do here to give you a definitive answer on who does fast food the best. But if we're like stepping out of the I would say inexpensive fast food, but I don't know if that really exists anymore because just at like Burger King, we spent $24 that night just for Clark and I, and we got some extras and things. But Five Guys, though, I talk about it all the time. Five Guys is just a whole nother level of deliciousness. Their burgers, if a Five Guys burger is a 10 out of 10, a Burger King burger, which I was just hyping up, is probably like a 3.5 maybe. And McDonald's would be like a -2. Five Guys is just so amazing with their burgers and toppings and everything you can choose on it. And their fries are, if their fries are a 10 out of 10, McDonald's fries are a -10. Like that's just where we're at on it. The problem with Five Guys is good quality, but you pay for it. The pricing is exorbitant. And like we go there, gosh, we probably get, I think we each get like a burger each. So it'd be like 3 burgers for the family. And then we just get 2 fries because they essentially, like if you order fries, they fill your bag with fries at Five Guys. And that is a lot of food, but it's like $50 for burgers and fries. No drinks. Like we drink our own stuff here at the house because we just always take it to go. And it's like, dang. But welcome to the world of, I guess, inflated fast food prices over the years. I was saying in the video that I made that I remember my mom and I would go to McDonald's when I was a kid, and it was like $10 for the two of us to get value meals. Now you'd be hard pressed to get a value meal for $10. So there's that. This wasn't supposed to be a whole discussion on fast food, but that's where we were last week, and that's what we did. After that, we played some Enter the Gungeon, a game that I was really enjoying at the time, but as you'll come to find out this week, we found some new games that we enjoy a lot more. In fact, this has been like my week of trying out new games because, as I mentioned, this week was a different one, and it was very much like today. Today's a remote day. We also had another remote day this week. There was also Monday, which was off for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and then we had 1 2-hour delay, so we had one full day of school this week, which kind of resulted in me not being super productive in like the productive sense. But if you consider producing happiness, as we talked about last week, or joy in yourself as being productive, I was definitely productive in that regard. Let's go all the way back to last weekend. The weather was inclement then too. We started getting into it was nice and kind of warm, like very unseasonably warm for us. But then the cold streak came through and the winds were crazy last weekend. So Clark and I spent our time inside Legoing. It was wonderful. We ended up, dude, and you have to watch the Brickitect video that came out yesterday. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, it's called Making Lasting Memories with Lego. And that is essentially what the theme of that video was. It was Clark and I taking the Lego Up house, and he built that while we watched the Up movie. And for me, when you watch a movie or do something in addition to Lego, it really solidifies that memory so much more. Like when we say we went to the movies to see Lego Movie 2, this is one of my like greatest Lego memories that I have. Clark and I went to McDonald's, got a Lego Movie 2 Happy Meal. We went to see Lego Movie 2. And then we got Lego Movie 2 sets at Target. And all of that whole thing combined, like it just cemented this experience and memory within me that even years later, I still think about. And I want to create more of those for Clark, man. So I was like, how cool would it be if we built the Up Lego set while watching the movie Up? And that's exactly what we did. And I filmed a whole bunch of that while simultaneously working on something that I was trying to accomplish, which is Ninjago City Gardens. And throughout the course of the weekend, we ultimately ended up completing not only the movie, but also Doug Days, which is kind of like a little shorts that they did in addition to the movie Up that features Carl and Doug, and they end up getting a new house and having these adventures together. But we ended up defeating the Up house, and then I also finished Ninjago City Gardens and got that thing on a shelf, and it just looks fantastic. And that's the whole like my week in Lego, or our, what did I call it this week? Our newest, the newest chapter in our Lego journey. I kind of like that. Like that's so much more descriptive than my week in Lego, because it isn't just me, it's Clark Man too. And it was a great time. Like that was awesome for me. So that was a fun weekend, but that's not all we did. We also did a lot of gaming, not only throughout the weekend, but throughout the week too. Cause that's what we were up to. Like it's been nothing but snow. I did a lot of shoveling this week. That was fun too. That was my physical activity. Mentioned my 30 minutes a day. It's easy to do when you have a job to do, like shoveling the snow off your deck and your sidewalks. Luckily, we have a neighbor that always comes and he plows our driveway out. It's like one of his, I want to say it's a passion of his. He goes and does like the entire neighborhood. And I always hook him up with, I give him a Wise gift card, which is our local grocery store. I always give that to him at the end of the season. But now I'm thinking about giving him one this week because he's come like 3 times and he's probably going to come today. So I was thinking about just dropping in there and getting a $50 gift card and putting his mailbox. I tried giving it to him in person the first time and he didn't want to accept it. I was like, no, I want to give this to you. And he took it. So the next time I just put it in his mailbox and I'm going to do that again. So he can't be like, no, because that's just the type of guy he is. He's a really good dude. Cody had his kid as a student, and his son, who was her student formerly, he also teaches some of Clark Mann's friends like swimming lessons and stuff. He's a big time swimmer, dude. So it's nice to have a little bit of community, and people helping each other out. Because I don't have a snowblower. I had like a little crappy one before, but it didn't make the move with us, and I don't really have a good place to store one. So this guy coming through and doing this for us is so clutch. Because like my thoughts are like if I buy a snowblower or snow thrower or whatever you want to call it, that next year it probably won't snow at all. Like Pennsylvania is really one of those places where it might snow once or twice of like plowable snow each year, or you can have a week like we had this week where every other day there's been snow. So it really helps that he already has the equipment. He comes over and does it. I'm happy to give him money for doing it, like definitely exceeding his costs and his time. I think last year I gave him $100 and he was only here a couple times, but it's like, dude, just for you doing that for me and my appreciation, even though like you have no expectation of getting anything back, which is, I think, the greatest way of doing something. I still want to give him something back. So I'm happy to do it, and I'm just thankful that he does the driveway. And I just do the rest. I plow out the chicken yawns. It's funny because when I go out there to get them out of the snow, like I shovel my way in, and as soon as I start shoveling like towards their food, they start hopping out and coming towards the food container, and then they start hammering that. So they don't seem to mind the snow too much as long as it's shoveled down a little bit. They don't like hopping in it. And the funniest part, and if anyone has chickens out there, you probably have seen them do this. They sometimes just stand on one foot because they want to get their other foot out of the snow, and I just love that. So that was all of the outdoor activities for this week. But indoor, it was gaming season, and we played a bunch of stuff. Clark, I'll say what Clark Mann's into. He was into, of course, Mario Maker 2. He likes Mario Wonder, Mario Maker 2, which is for the Switch, but then he also likes coming onto the PC. He's now a PC gamer, apparently, and he likes playing Minecraft and Fortnite. I would say as a 9-year-old, he's playing all the games that every other 9-year-old's out there playing. I, on the other hand, I've been like really into trying out all these new games that I'm finding on PlayStation Plus and Microsoft Xbox Game Pass. Because it's like there's no consequence. You can look at a game and you see a cover for one, you're like, all right, let me download that, try it out. This week I got heavily addicted to Dicey Dungeons, which is a game that I already had, but I played that like really substantially. In fact, the one remote day, I was supposed to be doing video editing, but I started playing that before Clark Mann started his day. We were just kind of down here playing around. And then I just kept playing that game. I just got so addicted to it, which is dangerous for me because I have that type of personality where it's like, if I start something, I'm just like, I'm totally in. It's like the opposite of attention deficit disorder. I feel like it's like, I'm just like dialed into that thing. So I played that heavily. But in terms of new games that I tried Diablo 3 this week. That was one that I played over the weekend. And that's a game where it's like a isometric kind of like angled adventure game where your character is kind of moving across the screen and you're exploring these areas and dungeons. And the whole point of the game is for you to mash the X button to kill all these enemies. And as you do that, you level up and get better armor, weapons, and things like that. And there is a story, but I'm not really too engaged with it. It's just just button masher basically. And then like, oh, I got some cool boots. Oh, I got a hammer sword or something like that. And I'm trying to decide if I want to continue investing any more time into that game, because to me, if that's all it is, I don't know if I really want to go all in. I'd much rather play Dicey Dungeons, which is like that game is kind of like a turn-based battle game when you get these various dice and then you use the numbers on the dice to do moves. If you haven't played it or if you have Xbox Game Pass, at least give it a shot because you may end up liking it. Clark's not totally into it. It tickles all the right places in my brain, as I sometimes say. So I was really having fun with that. I also tried another game this week that I don't know if it's for me, but it's called Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy. And this game is made by Capcom. And what you do in it is you play as a defense attorney. And it's as exciting as it sounds because you like watch these stories play out. And then they always like end up putting a witness on the stand that is trying to get your client to be guilty of murder or whatever. And then you have to like cross-examine this witness and prove that they're actually the person that's guilty. And you have to like do the right prompts at the right times. And if you don't do that, then you fail and like they're obviously not guilty. So you have to like really pay attention to the evidence. And then you acquire evidence sometimes through investigating. And then you're like, wait a minute, what you just said doesn't match with this. So you present this piece of evidence and that no one's let's just be honest, you have no interest in this game, but you had to present this piece of evidence and then they're like, aha, you're guilty. So it's that. And I'm like, okay, it took a lot of time just to even get through a few chapters of it. And I'm like, do I want to invest more time into this? That's like the biggest question of gaming, is like, okay, so I'm already investing time into gaming, which I probably shouldn't do. Cause again, there's video editing to be done. There's always something that I could be doing. But here I am playing this and I'm like, is this the best use of my gaming time if I'm going to be gaming? So I may not return. I think it's more unlikely for me to return to Phoenix Wright than it is Diablo 3. I think I might give Diablo 3 one more run. I did a live stream of it, which people seem to enjoy. So maybe I'll come back to that. But there's this game that Clark and I started playing literally like 2 days ago that he is absolutely obsessed with. In fact, it's eliminated all the other games that I mentioned earlier from his repertoire. And that is a game called Clone Drone in the Danger Zone. And it's just this wacky thing where you are a robot and you get sent into an arena of these other robots that are trying to get you. And there's all these different classes of them. And you try to defeat them either with a sword or a bow and arrow or a spear, shield, whatever you have. Like you can upgrade as you go. So once you defeat that arena, you come back and into like the loading zone, and it's like, okay, I'd like a better sword. And then you go back in and you fight some more guys that are more difficult. And then you're like, come back and you're like, I'd like a bow and arrow. And then you go back and you keep doing this. But then there's like this whole story that played out that I was not expecting. Like we did this arena thing for like several rounds. And then all of a sudden this game opens up and there's even like this space shooting level. And then you're on a space station. And then they're like in like almost like a Tron type level. It's pretty wild. It's available again on Game Pass. You can also, if you don't have Game Pass, I think it's on sale for like $6 right now, which is probably the most I would pay for it. This game definitely feels like one that some guy developed over the weekend when he's like a computer programmer type dude and he has a job at like Activision or something. And then on the side, he's like, hey, I'm going to make my own game. And then he did it over one weekend and then like sent it in for approval. That's what it feels like, but it's been fun and Clark is enjoying the heck out of it. Again, to the point where he's not played Minecraft or Fortnite or Mario Maker ever since we found this game. But it's only been a few days. The newness might wear off, but they have an endless mode in it too, where you can kind of battle your way through endlessly until you die so you can see how far you get. I did a live stream on this along with Clarkman, so you can sample it on Greg's Arcade if you want to see what that's like too. But we had a lot of fun in gaming. We did more gaming than anything this week, but I was happy to kind of sneak that Lego thing in there too. We got our sets built. I would like to do more. If there's a whole coffee table of Christmas Lego sets behind us here that I think we're going to get into next. In fact, Clark was talking about possibly building his Jurassic Park set, which I thought would be a great opportunity for us to watch Jurassic Park, because I have a Jurassic Park set too, which is kind of like a diorama type thing where they have the T-Rex, and then there's one of the Ford Explorer Jurassic Park vehicles, and one's flipped over. And I was just like, dude, this would look great on display. So maybe we can build those things while we watch Jurassic Park, or who knows what else will come up this week. But I'm enjoying it. And again, I made that video on it for my week in Lego, and I'm really proud of it. I really love the weekly format now. I feel like the videos are made with intention, as opposed to being like, okay, today's a day, I should make a video showing what I'm doing today, or like whatever. I want it to feel like this is meaningful. So I always do I shouldn't say always, because I've only done this twice, but I do a little introduction where I talk about what people are about to see. Then it goes in the video, and then I do a little outro. And I like the format. A few weeks ago, if you go back in this, I was kind of debating on what I should do, and I asked the audience what they want to see. And this is what they chose. And apparently people are enjoying it, because I would say that my last week's video got about 3 times the number of views that my daily ones do. And I feel like this video is even better. So if I can keep increasing my quality or production or whatever it is, I think that'd be really great. And I just want each video that I put out to be with intention and to be something that I'm extremely proud of. And that's exactly what these last 2 videos have been. That being said, it's, again, a little challenging to only put out one piece of content each week on a YouTube channel where people, are always kind of looking for new content. What I decided to do though is like, we'll put that video out, and then the next day I took pictures of all of the things that we did. So I had those as like a post, and then I linked the video again. So if you missed it that day, like the video in your feed, because I'm only showing up once, right? The next day it's like, oh, here's all the photos, a little preview, if you will, of what I did or we did. And if you want to watch it, here's the video again. So I think it works. And then I shared it on Greg's World too, because the style of these videos are like right up the alley of people that may not have a huge interest in Lego, but enjoy watching our just regular life journey. It just fits so well. So I think we're on to something here. I'm still doing like the daily recordings of our life and stuff where applicable on Greg's World. I've been combining some of the days, like 2 days into one, just because I feel like, I had like one day, the video that's coming out tonight, actually, it was like 16, 17 minutes of one day because we were doing all this stuff. Next day was like 6 minutes. And I was like, let's just put this together, make it a weekend vlog. So it's like a 2-day, 20 some odd minute video. And I'm happy with it too. So I'd say it's always a win if you can make something that you're proud of, that you're happy with, and that people are enjoying. You're on the right track. So that's the track that I'm on. I also did a little bit of watch-a-techting this week. We ended up finishing, I don't know if I even talked about this, but we ended up finishing Lego Master Season 4. We canceled cable a while back, so I didn't have access to watch Lego Masters, which is one of our favorite family shows that we watch for obvious reasons. And I remembered that Cody's mom had Hulu, so don't tell Hulu, but we ended up getting her username and password and watching it on her account. And the show is as good as always. I will say this, though. I'm going to sound like a hater, but I much prefer the Australian Lego Masters. I love Hamish. I love Brickman, the host and the judge, so much more. No offense, Will and Amy and Jamie. Judges, but I like those guys so much better. And I don't like the craziness and the hype that they put on the show. It's almost like they think that Americans are idiots, and maybe we are in some respects, but it's like they can't just do what I want them to do, which is to show the contestants and the builds and their process and like talk to them. Instead, it has to be like, oh, we're going to do this crazy thing, or we're going to explode something or whatever. And it's like, dude, and this has been my complaint about Lego Masters the whole time. I'm just like, just cut all the nonsense. But I know they have to make it exciting and interesting for television audiences, it seems. But the Australian one really doesn't do that, and it works. And I don't really vibe with the judges too much. Like I don't know what it is. Even Will Arnett, the host, I just want to know if he's being authentic. I question that, because that's a big thing with me. Authenticity is the most important thing. And I'm like, is Will doing this because he enjoys it? Or is he just like playing this role of being like this? He's kind of a jerk a little bit in it, or not really a jerk, but just kind of like an egomaniac of sorts. And I'm like, is this really him, or is he playing this character? Does he want to do this show? Is this just a paycheck for him? I'd rather just be somebody that's authentic, which I feel like Hamish, the Australian Lego Masters host, I feel like if you were to meet him in real life, it'd be the same dude. Whereas Will, I feel like he's playing this role, and I don't want somebody playing a role. Like, that's why I love YouTube, because when you watch YouTube channels, in most cases, what you see is what you get. And the people that are the most see is what you get are the people that I'm attracted to the most. Maybe attracted is not the best word there. I mean, like in terms of watching their videos, not you know. I'm going to grab a quick drink here as I tell you about other watch tech. In my movie of the week, a movie on Netflix called The King, starring our boy Timothée Chalamet from not only from Dune fame, but also Wonka fame. Still haven't seen that movie. I want to see it. This movie is amazing. I was thinking about it throughout the week. It's the story of Henry V, who's Timothée Chalamet. He's a prince when he starts out, and his dad is, of course, Henry IV, the king. I believe they're the fourth and fifth and sixth, somewhere around there. Let's just the middle Henrys, okay? His dad has kind of ripped England apart a little bit. He's not happy with how his dad's kinging or ruling. And obviously the king isn't happy with his son. So even though Timothée Chalamet is next in line to become king, his dad ends up choosing his other brother to ultimately be the king. And what happens is the brother ends up getting killed, and then the dad ends up dying, spoiler alert, and then Timothée Chalamet is essentially forced to be king. And what his goal is to kind of unite England, to make them one. But what happens is France kind of gets involved, and they start kind of insulting him and supposedly send an assassin to kill him, which kind of forces him to go into war, or Timothy Chalamet, that is Henry V. And then the rest of the movie is kind of like this war between France and, just the whole, like, I kind of put myself in his shoes and thinking like you're forced into this position to be king, something they didn't even want to do. And now you have to decide, like, do we want to look weak or should we go battle? Am I going to get killed? Was this a real assassination attempt? Am I being lied to by my people around me? Like, there's all these things you have to think about, sort of like Game of Thrones, really, like where it's like you can't even trust your closest people. And then he goes into battle. And then Robert Pattinson is the French prince, and then they get into a battle, and it was just really cool. It's a Netflix movie. I'm like, wow, this is some crazy production for Netflix, but it's called The King, and I would recommend it. It was a good watch. I also started watching the movie Tetris. I got really into Tetris this past few weeks. I don't know if you know the story behind Tetris, but it's and I might have talked about this, but it's existed obviously since the 80s. And just recently, all these records started getting broken in the last decade or so because people have developed a new way to control the game by using a technique called rolling, where you essentially control the back of the NES controller by tapping your fingers on the back of it. There's a whole show on this on YouTube. It's like 40 minutes long about the history of Tetris and how these guys have kind of almost beat the game. In fact, just very recently, this young man by the name of Blue Scooty, who's 13 years old, ended up beating Tetris essentially because he got to a kill screen that happens when you get so far in the game that the game essentially runs out of memory and destroys itself essentially. So of all the history of Tetris and all the games that have ever been played, which have been the billions, Tetris has always won. You always die to Tetris. You always get filled up, the lines get filled. In this case, someone beat it. And there's a Tetris movie on Apple TV Plus, and I started watching it but didn't get finished with it. So I want to finish that, and then I think I'd like to introduce Clarkman to Tetris. So maybe next week that'll be our new game that we get into. We'll see how he likes it. It's kind of Lego-ish. If you haven't played Tetris, gosh, I don't think I even need to explain it. I'm pretty sure everybody has had some experience with Tetris, but if you haven't, give it a shot, and it'll end up becoming like your Dicey Dungeons. You'll start playing it and get super addicted to it. But where us normal peasants and mere mortals end up dying at level whatever, these guys that have this technique and these incredible skills end up surpassing that and getting to the point where you can ultimately end up defeating the game, which is so cool. So those were the exciting things that I watched. In tech news, had another tech disappointment this week. I've talked before about how I'm always anxiously awaiting the next camera, the next cell phone, the next action cam, whatever it is, because I want to have the best quality video and audio that I can. And this week it was Samsung's turn. I've been disappointed by multiple things this year, including the new iPhone, which wasn't that big of a jump, or if any. And then the new GoPro was not great. And I did like the action, or the Pocket 3, which was probably the best camera of the year. But most cameras this year have just kind of been nothing that's over what I have that's pushing the boundaries. And this week, the Samsung Galaxy line of S24s came out, and I was like, oh, dude, tell me that they did something great. And then I find out they're just using the same cameras from last year, but they've tweaked the software a little bit to become better with AI. So you can circle something in the shot and then move it or delete it. And then AI fills in the background. And I'm just like, that's not what I'm looking for, man. Give me an amazing camera, because that's what I use to vlog with when we're traveling and going places, because it's just the most smallest and convenient thing. But it's they compared it with the iPhone 15 Pro, and it's not even better than that. So I have the 14 Pro, which isn't much better than that. So it's I guess I'm stuck with what I have, which is good news in terms of financial things, because I'm not spending money on any new camera equipment. And of course, I've never had anyone really say Greg, this quality sucks. In fact, I think outside of gear acquisition syndrome, which is what I have, it's called GAS. I could probably just exist with what I've had, and most people could. If you have a camera or phone that was made in the last 4 or 5 years, it's definitely good enough to make YouTube videos, and people are going to be like, that looks fine. As long as you have enough lighting and the image is somewhat stable and you're not shaking all over the place and the wind's not blowing on your microphone, you're good to go. You're not making, the next Martin Scorsese movie, which I need to watch actually. Flowers of the Killer Moon, something like that. Killers of the Flower Moon. I need to watch that. It's on Apple as well, but it's 3 hours plus, and it's not super appropriate for Clarkman, which makes it problematic for us to watch. Tying this back into my last thing, since we didn't have a very good segue into tech disappointment. But anyways, disappointed with the S24. In fact, I honestly, as much as an Apple fanboy I have and everything I have is Apple, I would 100% make the switch to Android if they came out with a killer camera. I'd be like, let's do it. And the Pixel, I was disappointed with that. That came out in the fall. I was like waiting for that. I was waiting for the GoPro. DJI is like the only company that's really doing anything that's like pushing the boundaries and making great things. And I guess I should just be thankful for that. But as it stands, I'm just keeping the equipment that I have, keep making the stuff that I make, and hopefully people continue to enjoy that with the terrible quality. It's not bad. It's just I'm not I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I just want better. I want to see the industry move forward at like leaping ahead. Instead, we're like moving at a snail's pace, or we're not even moving at all, it seems. So that was pretty much my week. The things I was into and the things I was up to. Probably would have been a more interesting episode for you if I didn't spend so much time playing video games, but that's the chapter I'm in right now. As I look outside and the snow's falling, it's like, what better thing to do than to game? And having a gaming channel is a great thing. You should subscribe to Greg's Arcade if you're not yet. Let's go into, there's my plug for my other channels. I would assume that most people, if you're watching this, you probably came from my vlog channel or my Lego one, because this formerly was my live Lego channel. You probably already know about things, so I don't need to hype it, but I can justify it. I can justify playing games because I'm like, oh, I put it on my gaming channel, therefore I'm creating content. Speaking of creating content, let's get into listener feedback from last week, starting with Samuel, who comments every week. He's what I call a repeat offender and also a survivor simultaneously. He says, good week to you, Greg. It's always nice to have someone talking to me in the background of my weekly drive to the chiropractor and back, because these podcasts, the perfect length to do so. This one might be shorter. Although I say that, I should never say it's going to be shorter, because then I start jabbering on about things and then it's being like 5 hours long. That's never happened. So thank you for that. And this is why I typically comment on Wednesdays. I always look on Fridays, so that's perfect. He says, the weather over here is absolutely brutal. We haven't got much snow in the last week or two, but it was bitterly cold and wind chills getting as low as negative 70 degrees. And that's not Celsius either. You need to move. It's time. Pack your bags. He said, it's funny how 10 degrees feels like Florida after that. Anyways, I have had my share of experiences with lying meteorologists. Mine are typically good at getting it right, but sometimes they miss their predictions by 2 miles with precipitation. I just can't wait for April when things finally warm up, unless North Dakota decides it still likes winter, which has a tendency to do so. You'll have to watch Punxsutawney Phil from our great state of Pennsylvania, and he'll tell you whether you're going to have 6 more weeks of winter or not with 100% accuracy, because he's a groundhog and he apparently has magical abilities. When you hold him up in front of a group of people with lights on him and cameras, he always tells the truth. Sam goes on to say, I'm smiling every time I hear or see or hear Super Mario Wonder with you and Clark. That game is absolute blast, and I cannot wait to continue my quest to 100%. I haven't found the time to play it when I want to, and when I have time, I'm typically doing something else. Relatable. He says, the last thing I want to talk about is a follow-up to your big question on memberships. Please keep in mind that this is just my opinion. That's all we've got, right? He says, as long as you don't change anything for the viewers who don't necessarily have the financial means to fund something like that, I honestly don't mind. I guess the only problem is that I sometimes feel guilty if I don't support my favorite creators as much as I could. However, I'd be willing to cancel someone to support my boy Greg. Just make sure the prices are reasonable. Let's talk about this. First of all, don't cancel anyone for me. In fact, cancel me to support someone else. I think I am going to do the Patreon route. I talked about memberships, Patreon. If I was going to do something like that, and I think Patreon makes the most sense, because I would like to have something that I can kind of push all of my channels into one thing. Whereas if you do memberships, I'd have to do like a membership on Brickitect, on Greg's World, on my arcade channel. But I was like, if I just do one Patreon thing, it could all go to that. And to answer your question there, or your concern, I've 100% made a decision. Nothing's going to change on my current channels. Like everything that I have now stays there. I was thinking the perks I could offer, because anytime you do something like with memberships or a Patreon type thing, you have to have some type of incentive for people to be like, to come over and support. You can't just be like, hey, come support my Patreon. It needs to be like, here's what you get, right? That's how everything works. There's either a reward or punishment for everything we do in life, and those dictate our actions, right? Like the reward for going to work is getting paid. The punishment for not going to work is getting fired. That's what happens. If nothing happened, if you just got your paycheck for not going to work, no one would go there, right? So what I'm going to do, and I might even hammer this out this weekend. So this might be live by the time you're watching this, but don't count on it because I want to make sure I get this right. I think what I'm going to do is have a couple different tiers just so I can hit each person's budget, because I don't want to be like, hey, it's $5, but you're like, I can afford $1, and I really want to do that. So I think the benefits would be, or the perks or whatever, and I'll have to figure out the tiers for this, but I was thinking I could do the Discord thing, which I already do through my memberships on Brickitect. I would definitely be canceling that because I don't want people to support in two different ways. Like, it needs to be all in on one thing, because that's just how I exist. So there'd be the Discord thing where you can get on and talk to me. I'm very active on there, and then we could have conversations and chats and things with everyone else, and hopefully create a nice little community of people that are looking for other people like us. I would also do early access to all my videos. And the great thing about doing this on Patreon as opposed to the memberships thing is that I could do early access for not only the Greg's World content. So when a vlog is done, edited, and it's uploaded, I could just put that out there and people could see it early, which I think is a cool perk. And then on Brickitect, I could do the My Week in Lego. That could come out early as well. Like, that went out early yesterday to members on Brickitect. And it looks like, I think like 15 people so far watched it. Lots of people do the memberships thing, and then they I think they're just there to support. They're not there necessarily to actively like consume everything, but the stuff would be there to consume. So I was thinking the Discord thing, early access. I was thinking another cool thing, and maybe this could be a higher tier or something, would be behind the scenes footage, where it's, I record like, say, an hour worth of footage becomes like a 15-minute video. There's people that would probably love to see the extra stuff that doesn't make the video. So maybe I would throw that in to something, or I could just make an extra vlog that I wasn't going to make otherwise. So again, I'm not taking anything away, but it's like, if I have a day, I just turn the GoPro on and we'll make like a really long video of just like whatever I'm up to. So it wouldn't be something that, like, I talked about being proud of your content and something that like it feels like a dedicated video on Brickitect. This would be something that it's just like, hey, it's just us. We're just doing whatever. And this is like extra. So I think that'd be kind of cool. And then I was thinking we could do like I want to do weekly, but I think maybe monthly would be more sustainable. Would be like a monthly like Patreon live stream where it's just us hanging out, chatting about whatever. So it'd be like a private thing. And again, that would be in addition to what I already do. So I'm already doing like the gaming streams. Maybe there'd be some extra gaming stuff there too, because I play more than I actually record or I put out. So it would essentially be like me going the extra mile for these people that are doing that for me, essentially. So I think they're like, my biggest thing with this is I want it to be a no-brainer for somebody that wants to support us, that this is definitely worth your pledge. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want it to be like, dang, that's a lot of stuff for what I'm getting. I don't want it to feel like, oh, you're just doing this and then it's like you don't get anything in return. I want it to be a lot of stuff. So, and I feel like if it's kind of spread across these 3 channels that I have, so Greg's World, Brickitect, and Greg's Arcade, I feel like there'd be enough there to justify like a $5 a month thing or something like that, if that was the case. So I'm going to try to hammer that out this weekend. And I just think it'd be a fun little challenge for me and a side thing to do. And then I was thinking of just all the things that I could like put in over there. And it's essentially like doing more of what I love, right? And then giving back to the people that support us that way. But again, and I know, like I've talked before, anytime you bring anything like this up, the haters, well, I'm not going to say haters, but like people get angry and agitated. I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case here, because obviously you're just a person that's into our journey, and you've been listening to this now for 30 plus minutes. So I don't think you would, you'd have any negative reaction. Well, you might have a negative reaction to that, but you don't think less of me, I don't think, because I've been as transparent as a human can possibly be, not only on this topic, but like everything. So what I say to the people that don't want to support, you don't have to leave a nasty comment. That's fine. You don't have to. You're still getting all the stuff that I'm already doing. This would just be like extra stuff, And if there ever comes a point where for 1 month you ended up joining, you could consume all the extra stuff that I've ever done up until that point. The early access stuff obviously wouldn't be as relevant because all those things would eventually have come out, but they're like all of the extra, like the streams, if we did like the private stream or the Discord or whatever, you could be a part of that. So there's your very, very long answer, Sam. Like I'm literally just, I keep talking about this just so you have something to listen to while you're driving to the chiropractor. That's what I would be doing. So I'll try to make some different tiers there that make sense. I want them all to be like sensible and affordable, because it's a big decision to be like, do I spend this money on Hulu, for example, or do I get a Patreon to Greg's world's extra stuff or whatever, that's, that's a question you'd have to ask yourself. I would say if we're going to be really honest here and we're not going to go into salesman mode, I'd probably sign up for Netflix before I signed up for Greg's Patreon, because you could watch The King, and that's a far bigger, more satisfying production than probably anything that I could ever put out this month for you. So yeah, if I'm just being very honest, I would go Netflix send me. But if you could snipe your the Hulu or Netflix password off a family member and get it for free, then Greg's World's the perfect thing for that. Anyways, that reminds me. One last thing I'll say about this before we never talk about it again, and that's what I want to talk about. This isn't something I want to actively promote. I don't want to at every video be like, make sure you guys leave a like and smash the subscribe button and also sign up for Patreon. I just want to put it in like the top of the description and maybe in the pinned comment. And when I'm streaming on Greg's Arcade, I'll have it there too. And it's like, you want to support this, what we're doing here. If you enjoy this, you want more, here's the link. But I don't want to actively come out and say that. And I don't want it to be like a thing where it's like people feel compelled to do it, because then I feel like it changes our relationship, and I don't want that. And that's what concerns me. Like when you said about, I'd have to cancel someone else to support this. And it's like, then there's like this thing there that I don't want for either of us, where you like, and I don't want people to be like, oh, do I have to choose between eating this week or becoming a Patreon so I can watch that live stream? No. You go get yourself a Whopper, okay? Or, better yet, you can get yourself like a quarter of a Five Guys burger. You can look around the Five Guys dumpster for a burger, because you couldn't afford it. You just can't. Sorry, Five Guys. They're never going to sponsor me. Anyways, that's all I want to say about that. Thanks for attending my Greg talk. That's my new phrase. I think I'm going to go with that. Last but not least, we're still on Sam's comment. The rest of you people that commented are probably just like, when's he getting mine? Oh my gosh, he's talking about this forever. He says, I hope you have an amazing week filled with accomplishments, sweet moments with your family, humans and animals, and blessings. You're truly one of a kind, Greg. See you in the next week. Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. One of a kind, probably not in a good way, to be honest. Yeah, like one of a kind is in like I'm like the bacteria that's that's growing on bread that I'm multiplying. Okay, where are we going with this? Let's cut that, Greg. We're not cutting it. Next one, thanks for all the encouragement and support. Also, I want to shout out, before I forget, I want to shout out Ray. Of course, Ray leaves the most detailed, beautiful comments on every video that I do. I don't spend the time reading them because they are basically like just, I mean, I read them. I don't read them publicly because it's just a lot of just showering us with kindness and love, and it makes me feel awkward to do that here, and I feel like I do it too much, and it makes me feel weird. But I want to say to anyone that leaves comments like that, I do read them. I do appreciate that out of it, and it's very encouraging. I just don't want the listener feedback to feel like it's just, this is the Greg celebration parade. You know what I mean? So I shouldn't even have read that last part, but I appreciate all of the kind words to everyone out there. Very, very nice. And I'm thankful that you guys take the time not only to listen, but to leave sweet comments like that. Don't think that they go unappreciated. Next one is from Jay's Hobbies Reviews. He says, Greg, thank you for finally getting to my comment. He didn't say that. He says, hey, Greg, with spring and a couple months away, any plans for your channel or trips for Greg's World? Didn't see your poll, but I would have voted for daily or close to daily on both channels, as I'm a consumer of both. Some short form might be beneficial since other content creators believe it's going to take off. When it comes to summer upper attire, tie-dye seems like the most unique, because typically each shirt can be unique. Thanks for another great podcast. Keep up the great work. What a great comment. This gives me all kinds of things to talk about, extending the life of this podcast and making Clark, man, I'm assuming, very angry. We may crack the 1 hour mark here, baby. Let's go. For Sam. All right, let's answer your questions. Any travel plans coming up? Well, we actually just booked our trip to Outer Banks, which will actually be this summer. We got a really great spot in our usual place that we go there. It was actually available, so I'm stoked about it. That's one of my favorite trips of the year. We've been doing that consistently every year. Going to Outer Banks is just like, it's one of those lasting memories, just like I was talking about Lego, that I think when Clark becomes an adult, he's going to remember all those times that we did that, and I think he's going to continue the tradition because he's a very sentimental and traditional dude as it is. So I did that. I looked at Ocean City. There's a huge rabid fan base of people that love it when we go to Ocean City, Maryland, as we do. I love Marty's, obviously. I love the boardwalk. I love swimming. I love the ocean. I love the beach. I love it. We always get people asking us, you guys going to Ocean City? Yeah, we're going to go there this year. I looked at the prices though, and Oddly enough, the price right now, if I book at either one of the Hiltons that we enjoy there, is actually more than what I paid last year when I booked just a little bit ahead of time. And that's what I think I'm going to do this year, because we only go for a few days, and I want to check the weather ahead of time, make sure the weather is going to be good. Since we have a lot of leeway, like some people have to, you take your vacation week and you have to put that in. Whereas Cody's off, Clark's off, I'm obviously off because I'm self-unemployed. We can kind of pick the week we want to go and maybe even get like a little bit of a deal if they don't have it like completely booked out, or it might be more expensive. But I don't want to book this now and pay more to find out that I'm going during like a hurricane or like during just terrible weather that week. I just need a few good days where I can go have some dough rollers, have some thrashers, throw some skeet ball, give a couple $100 to Marty's in order to win a little Toad plushie, and I'm on my way. Dip myself in the ocean, have a couple good dinners, bada bing, bada boom. That's what I'm hoping for. So we're doing that. We may or may not have a Disney thing planned, so you'll have to stay tuned for that. It's our like favorite thing, and the whole us with Disney is just like making up for lost time. Like I didn't get to do anything as a kid, so all these trips and all this stuff that we do, it's really just me like reliving not reliving my childhood, but living my childhood, and then like getting to have that experience with Clark, which I think makes it so special. When Clark gets older, I don't know if we're going to do most of this stuff anymore. But right now it's like, I just want to absorb all of these experiences that I can over the next few years while he's young and like enjoying it. And we can do this together as a family because that's the most important thing to me. He also said, the shirts, we got multiple votes for tie-dyed shirts. If you go back, I was trying to decide between Hawaiian shirts or tie-dyed shirts. I live in a world where it's either or. Maybe we can switch off. I'll get a few Hawaiian shirts. I'll make some tie-dyed. I'll make a video on how to make tie-dyed shirts. That could be handy for people. I'll try to make some shirts, and maybe I can even do a Patreon special because we'll be deep into it by then. I'll make you a tie-dyed shirt when you sign up. That could be a cool tier, right? One of Greg's world famous, I'm putting it out there, world famous tie-dyed shirts. Oh, that just reminded me. I didn't mean to go back into this topic. You know how I've been loving making those little instant photo shots, little Polaroid or Fujifilm shots where it prints out your photo right away. How cool would that be to have when someone signs up, I mail them a photo. It could be of anything. I just send you a random photo that I took in the mail. So I think they ask for your mailing address. You don't have to give it, I don't think, but you can be something where you get like a physical good. How cool would it be if someone signed up, you get a Polaroid or a whatever they're called, like an instant photo? That could be kind of fun, maybe sign the back of it or something. I'm thinking like as super fans, like if I followed someone and I really enjoyed their stuff, like say a vlogging channel, and I signed up for something like that and they sent me something like physical like that, I'd be pretty stoked, even if it was just something silly, like a little picture of whatever. I think that'd be kind of cool. Okay, well, I'm getting ideas. Ideas are happening right now. You can choose your very own, maybe like we'll do a crazy tier, Hawaiian shirt. No, we give you a tie-dyed shirt and a Polaroid picture. That'd be cool. All right, I'm just thinking out loud here. Not the greatest place to do that. Anyways, thank you, Jay, for the feedback. That was like the best feedback ever, and a prompt for a new question. You're the man or woman. I don't know. You're great. We love you. Next one's from Janelle. She said she's enjoying the rebirth of the gaming channel and finding new games to play. I also love watching podcasts every Sunday while I'm making lunch. I voted on both. I voted weekly for Lego and daily for Greg's World. Janelle got her way. Janelle definitely, like, Ray's up there. We talk about Ray all the time. Janelle, such an amazing supporter. Every time I go live, Janelle is there and she helps with the chat. And she's just awesome. So, and she leaves feedback here, which is great. So I'm happy to keep you company during your lunch. I hope you're making something great. And I appreciate you tuning in and watching. And I'm glad that you're enjoying the gaming stuff because I'm finding new games to play too. So it's like, even in my Discord, I share like games that I find. And Ronnie mentioned how it's like, I'm his guy for finding like these obscure games that can be fun, like Clone Drone in the Danger Zone. Thank you, Janelle. Next comment comes from, or feedback comes from Clay Turtle. Says, thanks for another great podcast and trying to properly read it. Says, the turtle I got my daughter years ago is a red-eared slider. That was what I was trying to think of because I'm watching these turtle videos. I went down the rabbit hole. Says, I myself have a pet snapping turtle. Yes, a snapping turtle. I still have all my fingers so far. When it comes to wearing Crocs, the Shawshank Redemption said it best. How often did you really look at a man's shoes? Facts. I'm Team Croc gang. We might be doing the tie-dye Crocs, tie-dyed shirt combo, or maybe we'll do like the tie-dyed shirt with like the Croc offset. So we get a tie-dyed shirt with a lot of blue and I could get the blue Crocs. Just honestly living my best life, I want to say at that point. Thank you for the feedback. And now I'm going to have to do some recon on red-eared sliders because Greg's Pets, Greg's Zoo, Greg's Animal Sanctuary, I think that's where the Patreon funds are going to go. I think we're gonna turn it into an aquarium. That would be cool. And tie-dyed shirts, of course. And Polaroid film. We're just gonna be buying all kinds of things with it. Oh my gosh, I'm getting so excited about these things. Anyways, last comment, and this is another hype comment, but I'm gonna send you out with this one from Tracy, who is a repeat offender and of course a survivor as well. She says, you posted the question as if we're, as listeners, are your biggest fans or supporters. From reading the comment section and my own thoughts, I feel safe in saying yes. I agree. Like if you are listening or watching this podcast, thank you, because I personally like this stuff, this kind of content or whatever, but I don't think this is for most people. Just listen to a guy ramble on about his day and his dreams and his failures, of course. Not for most people, but for the people that it is for, I love it, and I appreciate you tuning in. She says, we're here to hear about your journey, share your experiences, benefit from your musings, and for some of us, share our own. For me, being part of this small podcast community uplifts me and inspires me. It also allows me to reflect on my life and set goals as you do. I'm grateful for this podcast. Thank you, Greg, and all the other commenters and listeners. I'm not getting emotional, Tracy. Nice try. You almost got me there at the end. Not this time. We're going to end this podcast before I start crying, but I want to thank you all for tuning in. Sam, if you're listening, I'm sorry this didn't quite make an hour. I hope that the last few minutes of your journey is a good one. Maybe you can put on a good song or something like that, or who knows? I don't know what you could get into. You could put on a Greg's World video or something, and I'll be talking to you on that about various things. But again, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and listening to me not only talk about my week and what I'm into and up to, but also what I'm planning and what I'm thinking, and like helping me guide this path that is life, because there is no guidebook. There is no rules. All we really have is ourselves, our families, and of course the communities that we create online. And I'm thankful to have you as a part of that. So on that, you're not going to get me, Tracy. Thank you for watching and listening. And as always, I'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.